My name is Benjamin Austin, and I am a survivor of suicide. I first experienced the thoughts about suicide about a week after my father's death, and to me, at the time, they felt very welcoming. But to me, also, I was awake for a week, so that wasn't what I was supposed to be feeling. I did not plan on self-harm, to be honest. It just happened. It was no sudden decision, that's for sure. I stayed up for a week straight, and I was thinking about nothing but my father and how much time I didn't have with him. You know, because he was in prison a lot of my life. And I'd only known him for 5 years, and then all of a sudden, he was gone. So I was sitting there thinking about all the things I wish I could have done with him. All the things that he did with me that I was cherishing. And I was just ultimately missing him. And then, you know, the 7th day came along, and I said, I guess to myself, this is the end. I want to go to sleep. And I went in his room and took his medications and passed away. My heart stopped. When I took the pills, I don't really remember much besides the first 30 minutes of the effects, and then I blacked out. And then my brother actually has an account of what happened. I was banging my head against the wall and the door repeatedly, just standing there, just repeatedly, like, here's the door, here's my head and my body, and I was just doing this. And then all of a sudden I just fell backwards and my heart was not beating. My brother was the one who found me, and my old landlord, Bill Bowden, he was a 70-year-old Vietnam War veteran, but he also was a journeyman electrician. So when they found me, they took the wires from the plug outlet in the wall and used them to jumpstart my heart again. My friends didn't know for a while what happened, and my family were in the hospital when I woke up. I didn't understand what was happening either when I woke up until someone had told me. My initial thought when I woke up in the hospital was, why am I here? And why do I have something attached to me? Because I also woke up with the catheter inside of me. So I was very confused, and I was very upset. And then I heard from the nurse that I was there from a suicide attempt. And I started crying immediately. So I started thinking about all the people that I would have completely just devastated if I would have been gone. Because I am a very popular guy. I just don't think about it. You know, most people like having me around. I was relieved that I was still here. I was not disappointed at all. Immediately, I wanted to go seek help. I like a, mental institution or something, because I knew I wasn't safe to be let out of the hospital at that point, because I had just committed suicide. When you have self-harm, the doctor's guidelines are to keep you in a mental hospital for 72 hours. That's the guidelines. They're supposed to take you to a hospital so they keep you under observation and see if you seriously need to be there or if you're okay and they can let you go. So that's what happened to me. I woke up and they had a telehealth thing because it was around COVID time, and then they said that they had to send me to the hospital or I was going to go to a state facility. So I said, yeah, I'm going to go to Banner Behavioral Hospital, because why not? The impact it had on my overall health was the fact that I have hypertension in my heart and an irregular heart rate. That definitely doesn't help with remaining calm. So I'm pretty stressed out most of the time because of my irregular heart rate. I feel like when you go through something like that, you have trauma, and that trauma leads to thoughts of self-harm. And then the way you deal with those thoughts is really how you can thrive. You talk about them, and you let people know how you feel. That way those people can tell you, I would like it if you did that to yourself. And they can help you, experience these things and let you know that it's not okay to do that, but it is okay that you're still alive and that people love you. Lots of good resources that helped me save my life were from the crisis line on the phone, and also talking to people in online forums on the internet or Facebook. There's lots of help groups and depression groups and stuff like that on Facebook that will really help people have resources to talk to people, and not feel so alone. And then there's also the fact that you can get an SMI determination, which will, help you get even more researches for your depression. You'll be able to go to a mental clinic. You'll be able to get free medications. You'll be able to possibly even get housing because you're so depressed you can't even find a job and work. They'll help you find a house. You just have to get that SMI determination. I had something interesting happen to me. They diagnosed it as a mental break, I was raped and my girlfriend died. And my brain did something where it shoved those memories and emotions to the back of my head and basically put me on airplane mode. And I was kind of a different person for a while. I was 12, 13. So from 12 to age 16, I became like, I like to call it a goody two-shoes, where I just did everything my parents want, or my mom and my, at the time, because she was the only one in my life, told me to do. And I just smiled and waved. And then right around age 16, my brain kind of broke out of the mental fog. And I started having like the thoughts of my girlfriend who had killed herself when I was 12 start flooding back. And I was dealing with these thoughts and emotions. And me being raped when I was 12 started flooding back. And it just really screwed with me mentally. So I started seeing a doctor, like a therapist, at age 16 to try to figure out what the heck was going on. I was diagnosed SMI at age 18. SMI is severely mentally incapacitated. It means I have a lot of trauma and I have a lot of emotional damage, but I deal with it every day. And that is what led me to the suicide and stuff. Because it just, once my dad died, that was like the tip of the iceberg. Everything just kind of exploded. I was 12 years old and we had just moved to the valley. And I was living in an apartment complex called Falcon Glen. My mom had to go to work because she had just got a job as a chef for a lady who lived in a big house, and she was this lady's private chef. And she left us home alone a lot. The next door neighbor was an older woman that she trusted, at least a little bit, because we had just moved in and she was trying to pay her $40 to watch us all, right? So my brother and my sister were upstairs. She was downstairs with me. We were watching something on TV, and she brought me an orange juice. I remember taking the orange juice and drinking it, and all of a sudden I had an erection and I could not feel my body. And then all I know is that this woman got on top of me and used me, and then got off of me and acted like nothing happened. And told me not to tell my brother or my sister, or else she would come over there and hurt me. When I was finally able to move, I just laid there. I didn't do anything at all. I felt defeated and violated and very upset. I wanted to scream at the top of my lungs, but I knew it wouldn't do any good. And I knew it's either I tell my mom and my sister and my brother and I get teased about being raped, or I just keep it to myself and become, whatever. Because my brother and my sister are assholes. They're gonna hold it. Oh, look at him. He's afraid of that older woman over there, aren't you? Because you were raped. I didn't want any of that, so I just kept it to myself. I was very traumatized. I did not tell anybody. For me to be raped by somebody that I didn't want sexually felt very disgusting and very nasty. I felt like a dirty piece of shit. Excuse my language, but it put my mind through a loop, man. I don't know how else to explain it. Like, generally, yeah, you're getting, sex from an older woman. Oh my goodness, you should be happy. No, I was sitting there disgusted, screaming because I couldn't move. It just was not a good experience. I'd ask the little guy, my friends around the neighborhood. I told them what happened to me. I didn't tell anybody that actually mattered. And they told me that she had done the same to them. And that she told them the same exact thing. And some of them are still, going over to her house to have sex with her. Because she had ruined them to that point where, they thought that it was enjoyable. When I turned 19, right after the suicide, I let my mother know that I had, because the suicide happened around my birthday time. So I just turned 19. I committed suicide when I was 18, but I just turned 19 that following month. So I told my mom I had been raped by the older lady next door, and she blamed herself because she was at her job all the time and she wasn't there to protect me. I told her no, it was my fault. I did blame myself a little bit for letting it happen because I could have seen what was happening, but I was just, I guess, too slow or something. Why would I don't know, because at the same time, why would I think anything less of a glass of orange juice being handed to me by an older woman? What weird thing is going to stick out to me about that? That's pretty normal. So I always blamed myself for just not knowing what was going to happen. You think it's just natural for some people to place blame on themselves because they're used to it for their whole lives, just placing blame on themselves. I coped with the feelings of blame not very well. Me anyway, I tend to retreat inwards and kind of put up a hard shell, and that's because of the blame. I'm so guilty that it just makes me go away and become like a cocoon. And I'll say, yeah, okay, or whatever. I'll be semi-functional, but I won't really fully be there. And I'll just have really hard days. And I try to go to groups and stuff for blame to try to get past the thoughts and the emotions that it brings up. The indicators of somebody's personality changing from a rape would generally be they're a little bit more silent. They don't want to be touched a lot. They want to be left alone. And they want to feel respected. Even though they have no reason to feel respected, they want to feel respected because they feel like they have been ultimately disrespected because they had just been used for someone's pleasure against their will. And it's very hard. My mother, after I told her about this woman, asked me what her name was. She didn't even remember what her name was. That's how long it had been. Because it was when I was 12. And she was working hardcore, doing her job, doing her private chef thing. And apparently she didn't even realize that she didn't know the woman's name after all this time. And I looked at her and I was like, really? Well, it's been that so long, I don't think it really matters anymore, Mom. And she's like, no, I want the woman's name. Well, I don't know her name, Mom. That's what I told her. And I don't know what you want me to do. And I kind of just walked away because what are you going to do at that point? My mom cried. She felt very bad about it because she wanted to be able to take her to court or something or do something for her son. I know it was something with an M, like Michelle or Marty or something. It was very traumatic. I blurred her name out because I just didn't want to think about it. If I knew the name, I would give it to my mom. She would go over there with a knife block, and probably just start hucking them through her front door. No, she's going to go to prison, but she hurt her baby. You know what I mean? My description of rape in 3 words would be, I don't want it, or don't do it. How's that sound? Because most of the time, rape is because someone wants to do it. And no matter what, they're going to do it. And it's not okay. So the belief that women can only be raped does definitely press a lot of challenges for me being a boy. Such as me having to tell other men and them looking at me half the time, laughing, saying, hey, what do you mean you were raped? You didn't enjoy it? Or talking to a woman and being like, what do you mean? Saying something similar. You didn't enjoy it when she was having sex with you? You're a 12-year-old boy getting an older woman. You should have enjoyed it. I felt very violated. I was not ready to be with somebody sexually. Again, there's all kinds of challenges. I talk to other men who were raped, and they tell me the same thing. Everybody teases them because they think that they're going to, that they enjoyed it somehow, and they weren't really raped. And it's like, no, that's not. If you didn't consent to it, then you don't do it. That's anything past that is rape. So if it happened to a man, it happened to a man, and that's rape still. Just because we don't enjoy it doesn't mean it's not rape. I was 10 years old when I first met my girlfriend. She introduced me to sexuality because she had stumbled onto one of her older brother's porn mags. And she wanted to figure out what it was. So she decided to use me as a dummy. And one thing led to another, and it just spiced our relationship up a little bit. But it was also a very bad thing at the same time, because my best friend became very jealous. He did ask me one time, like, are you guys having sex? Because he knew what porn was, because he's a dude. It's not unnatural for an 11-year-old boy to know what sex is. But yeah, he was a great guy up until what happened. He raped my girlfriend. I know that I walked in and she told me the story of what happened. We were supposed to go to the park that day and go feed some ducks. It was going to be a cute little date, right? So I ended up walking down to her house because she hadn't been calling or texting me on her dad's phone or whatever. I walked over to her house because that's what you do when your girlfriend doesn't call you back. I walk in, her parents say hi, how's it going? Ashley's in her room. I go walk over to her room because me and her parents have an excellent relationship up until that point. And I walk in and she's laying there, like sitting against her bed on the floor with her arms just completely cut open, bleeding all over the place. And I just rush over to her, trying to close her arms to try to stop the bleeding because I didn't understand medical stuff at that point. I just knew that she was bleeding and it needed to stop. So as I'm doing this, she tells me, "Oh, you know Gabe?" I'm like, "Yeah, I know Gabe. Yeah, he was over here today and he raped me, and I was just supposed to, we were planning a surprise for you for your birthday, and he ended up jumping me and raping me. And I did this because I couldn't live with myself, because I wanted to be only yours." And I told her, "I don't know why you would have done that. It would have been okay. Either way, we would have got justice for what happened to you." And that was the only negative thing I said to her. And other than that, I just started freaking out, completely. She was starting to fade. And I knew it. So I was holding her and hugging her and just telling her it was all right. I'm here. You don't have to cry. It's okay what happened to you. It's not okay that it happened to you, but it's okay, and I'm not mad at you. And I'm just trying to be the best boyfriend I can be while she's leaving. And she just finally leaves. And I'm just left there with her body in my arms. And her dad and her mom walk in, bringing us some food, because, that's what they do. They see her on the floor dead. And they look at me and they're like, what happened, Benjamin? Why is my little girl sitting here dead with her arms cut open? And I end up having to go down to the police station and giving them a report on what happened. And I go home that day, and my parents wonder why I'm covered in blood, but I can't even speak to them because I'm so depressed of what just happened. Still to this day, pretty depressed. And just see her face, her body laying there cold, lifeless. That's basically what happened. We tried to get her to the hospital, but she had lost pretty much all of her blood. There was no way to get her a transfusion. Right around the same time, my parents divorced, and we moved down here to Phoenix. So I didn't have a lot of time to process it. It was about a month after we moved down here to Falcon Glen that I was raped. So my brain broke at that point. As I was explaining earlier, it kind of just, all the trauma that happened to a 12-year-old mind at that point kind of just snapped in half, put the broken part away, and then put the fresh stuff right in front where I could be a different person. And then right around 16, my brain started filtering in all the traumatic thoughts that had filtered out, and I just started having to deal with the trauma. I didn't realize I needed help because to me it was I was normal. The doctor explained it as post-traumatic stress, in a rare form of it at that. They said that my brain basically took everything that was traumatic to me at that point, because I would have basically killed myself, and it was trying to protect me by putting it away. I still am having memories and emotions that are just becoming unlocked to this day. It's a very weird process. I don't think anybody has had it happen to them, and if they have, I would love to hear about it in the comment section. If I could go back in time and meet myself and talk to myself, it would be age 13. I would tell myself basically what had happened was not okay, and that I needed to go seek help because our father is going to die. And I would let myself know about that too when I'm 18 years old. And I would let myself know that you need to get this other trauma out of the way in order to survive that. Because that really did throw off my whole life, committing suicide. That's what I would do. Because it's not okay what my brain did, I should have been able to process what happened to me, and I wasn't, because I was made to make it feel like it was normal. My brain tried to protect me. My advice to somebody in a similar situation of being raped would be, it's okay. It's not your fault. It's not okay that it happened, but it is okay. And that they can seek help, get into groups with other rape survivors and start talking to somebody about it and stop feeling that blame. Go to the mental hospital and stay there until you need to. Don't get out of the mental hospital early because you want to go back and lay on your couch and feel sorry for yourself. There's help out there, and that's the help. If they leave the mental hospital, then they're not getting the help that they need. and go to a mental asylum if they have to. Or mental hospital, I should say. Asylums are for people who are more deranged. But mental hospitals are great because they'll get you on your meds, the meds you need, and then they'll get you going through the day. Definitely being raped, trying to take my own life, and losing somebody close to yourself is definitely all things that I would love to talk to similar people about, because it's always nice to hear other people's input on the situation, because you never know what the other side of the spectrum looks like unless you hear about it. Because that's how you find out about things, is you ask. I actually do talk to other people who have similar experiences to me, and I let them know that it's going to be okay. It may not be okay right now, but it will be okay one day.